That's her friend screaming.
Wow.
And it's nobody was in there. Nobody
Can
was
you
in
go
there.
yeah, that's where Zegler says their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing live action Disney adaptation.
Its budget was around $240 to $270 million. It has made $43 million domestically so far and around $84 million globally per box.
A storm is brewing at the core of Hollywood, and at the center stands Rachel Zegler. A dramatic chapter has emerged in the growing controversy surrounding Disney's troubled live-action remake of Snow White. This time, the issue extends far beyond unfavorable reviews or social media backlash. The stakes are now legal. According to multiple insiders with direct knowledge of the production, Zegler was recently called into a confidential, high-level meeting with Disney's legal team. This wasn't a routine check-in. It was a critical confrontation over alleged violations of contract, damage to the brand's public image, and the rising possibility of litigation. The situation has sent ripples throughout the entertainment industry.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled "Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco: Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler." Evie Magazine wrote on X, "When you compare how Rachel Zegler spoke about Snow White to how other actresses who played live-action Disney princesses spoke about their character, really underlines just how poorly she carried herself."
The closed-door session, tightly controlled and cloaked in secrecy, marks a significant escalation in what has already become one of the most divisive projects in Disney's recent history. From the moment the trailers dropped, Snow White has struggled commercially and critically, encountering widespread disapproval and deepening internal rifts among those involved. Now, Zegler is no longer just one of many voices in a chaotic production cycle. She has become the central figure in a legal dispute that may define her trajectory in Hollywood and reshape how studios manage high-profile casting controversies.
Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. Zegler isn't the only one who has made political statements, though. Her co-star Gal Gadot, who plays the Evil Queen, expressed her staunch support for Israel. I'm in the thick of rehearsals for Romeo plus Juliet, so I'm going to get out of here. Bye for now. The Variety story notes how a couple of minutes after posting this, she replied to her own tweet and wrote, "And always remember, free Palestine."
This has moved far beyond the scope of creative missteps or critical reception. It now signals a full-scale corporate crisis. Disney, once a symbol of untouchable storytelling power, is working urgently behind the scenes to stabilize its image. According to those close to the situation, the meeting was never about public relations damage control. It was about setting the tone for possible courtroom action. This confrontation is no longer just about optics, it's about accountability. Disney, still reeling from significant financial losses and a damaged public reputation, appears intent on tracing the root of the Snow White collapse. If reports are accurate, Rachel Zegler's polarizing interviews, where she dismissed cherished elements of the original 1937 animated film and labeled the prince character as weird, may be considered breaches of contract. However, Zegler's legal team is mounting a firm defense, claiming those controversial statements were part of a broader promotional approach approved by Disney's own marketing division.
I'll quickly mention this. The son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, Jonah Platt is the son's name, he is speaking out publicly against Rachel Zegler and blaming her. He's totally right. Now, of course, as we covered, the movie is terrible anyway in its own right. It was probably going to underperform regardless. People are tired of the soulless cash grab remake thing.
The timing of this legal standoff could not be more significant. As Disney contends with growing internal concerns over its faltering slate of remakes, the company is said to be examining every possible legal recourse to manage the fallout from Snow White. Executives are now reviewing talent contracts, analyzing past media appearances, and evaluating whether Zegler, or even co-star Gal Gadot, may have stepped beyond boundaries designed to uphold the company's carefully cultivated image.
Rachel Zegler just keeps making things worse with the Walt Disney Company. The more that she tries to defend this movie, the more that she tries to spew her agenda onto the general public, it's only making matters worse. Not just for Bob Iger, but for whatever is left of the image of Disney as a whole.
Zegler did not enter the meeting unprepared. Arriving with legal representation in tow, the message was clear. This is no longer a matter of public perception. It's a legal confrontation. Her attorneys reportedly argue that corporate misdirection, frequent script changes, and inconsistent production leadership are to blame for the film's failure, not the cast's public remarks. What's unfolding is a high-stakes Hollywood standoff, a star pitted against the very studio that launched her into global recognition. Yet, this time, the consequences reach beyond reputations. They may influence how studios handle celebrity brand relations for years to come. The film's unraveling didn't begin with Zegler, but she has emerged as the face of its unraveling. Even before its release, longtime Disney fans raised concerns. Trailers revealed a stripped-down version of the classic tale, one that appeared to replace timeless fantasy with assertive, modern messaging. What once felt magical had become divisive.
It's her friend screaming.
Wow.
And this is
That was
bothered. Nobody was in
disturbing.
there. Nobody
Can
was
you
in
go to the, yeah, that's what Iger says. Their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing a live action Disney adaptation.
Its budget was around $240 to $270 million. It has made $43 million domestically so far and around $84 million globally per box.
Then came the viral sound bites. Zegler, fresh from her breakout role in West Side Story, was presented as the voice of a modern Disney, bold, assertive, and unfiltered. But to many viewers, her remarks came across as dismissive of the studio's legacy. The clip spread quickly online and then exploded across the internet. As the legal storm intensifies, the industry is watching closely. Major studios are quietly reevaluating how they structure talent agreements, particularly around public image and promotional conduct. What once was an afterthought, actors speaking freely during press tours, has now become a legal minefield. In the age of viral sound bites and instant backlash, even a single interview can spark a multi-million-dollar crisis. Within Disney, internal sources say that department heads are under pressure to identify where oversight failed. How did a film meant to champion empowerment become synonymous with controversy? How did a rising star become the face of a corporate miscalculation? These are the questions circulating not just at Disney, but across Hollywood. Reports also suggest that Snow White's behind-the-scenes issues go deeper than press blunders. Test screening feedback was overwhelmingly negative, citing tonal inconsistency and a lack of emotional core. One executive reportedly labeled the film a Frankenstein's monster of ideas, stitched together by multiple creative hands, but lacking a soul. And now, with the film underperforming, that chaos is beginning to surface. Studio analysts warn that unless Disney takes decisive action, the Snow White situation could erode investor confidence in its broader live-action strategy. Already, murmurs have begun about potential delays or reworks on other planned remakes, as stakeholders demand clearer direction and better risk management. Meanwhile, industry lawyers say the outcome of this dispute could set a precedent for future star-studio relations. If Disney succeeds in holding Zegler accountable for the film's failure, it may embolden other studios to take a firmer hand with talent contracts. On the other hand, if Zegler's legal team proves the studio orchestrated the messaging, Disney may be forced to reconsider its approach entirely. In the court of public opinion, things remain just as volatile. Online debates rage between those defending Zegler's right to reinterpret a classic and others accusing her of disrespecting beloved material. Amid all the noise, one thing is certain. This is no longer a film story. It's a business story, a legal story, and above all, a cultural story about the friction between legacy and change in modern entertainment. With tensions mounting and headlines circling like vultures, Disney has entered full-scale damage control. The studio is reportedly assembling a specialized crisis team made up of legal analysts, public relations experts, and brand strategists. Their mission is to steer the company away from a potential long-term branding collapse tied to the Snow White remake, and more specifically, its lead star. According to sources close to the situation, this internal task force is examining not only Zegler's public comments, but also the overall structure of the marketing campaign. The goal? Determine how such a high-budget release fell so far, so fast. Preliminary findings reportedly show a fractured approach within Disney's own divisions, where corporate messaging clashed with creative direction and public perception. Executives now fear that the Snow White fallout could serve as a precedent, impacting other upcoming projects centered on legacy reboots. The central question being asked behind closed doors is whether modernizing a classic inherently risks alienating long-standing audiences. And worse, when things unravel, who should be held accountable? Insiders report that Disney is also considering a sweeping overhaul of its contract clauses for future productions. New language would place stricter boundaries on how talent can speak publicly about legacy content, studio decisions, and overall messaging. These revisions would be designed to avoid future legal ambiguities like the ones now plaguing the Snow White fallout. At the same time, the Zegler situation has triggered renewed discussions in Hollywood about the limitations of talent control in the social media age. With one viral clip capable of derailing a multi-million-dollar campaign, studios are now rethinking their strategies, not just for what's said during press tours, but how messaging is managed months in advance. The Snow White saga is quickly becoming more than a legal standoff. It's evolving into a broader industry lesson, one about misalignment, missed signals, and how even a billion-dollar machine can fumble a modern fairy tale. What happens next may not only determine Zegler's future, but how the entire entertainment world approaches legacy reboots going forward. One reality stands above all. Rachel Zegler now stands as the face of a broader conflict, shaking the very core of Hollywood. What began as a film release has escalated into a defining moment for the modern entertainment landscape. Fan loyalty is no longer predictable. Legacy titles offer no guaranteed success, and the intersection of modern messaging with beloved source material has never been more difficult to balance. The Snow White remake was projected as a safe, profitable venture. Instead, it has become a legal and cultural minefield where ideology, business, and creative expression are colliding in real time. The original tale was known for innocence, enchantment, and love that transcended generations. But this 2025 interpretation is now marked by controversy, public backlash, and internal corporate discord. With negotiations still underway, it's unclear whether Disney and Zegler will reach a private settlement or allow the conflict to erupt into a very public courtroom battle. Some insiders believe this case could set a new precedent, determining just how much freedom performers have when representing major studios and how far corporations can go to protect their investments. At stake is more than a movie or a role. It's the future of creative partnerships in an era where public perception can shift within hours, and one misstep can derail years of planning. Studios are watching closely. Legal teams are preparing, and audiences are already forming opinions that may shape future projects across the entire industry. This isn't just about Rachel Zegler, and it's no longer just about Snow White. It's about Disney's ability to lead the cultural conversation without losing its identity. And whether the company that built its reputation on timeless storytelling can withstand a modern backlash powered by internet culture, shifting values, and legal consequences. The fairy tale may not end with a kiss or a crown, but with a lesson about accountability, perception, and the limits of reinvention. If you found this breakdown insightful, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Can Disney recover from this, or is the damage already done? Thanks for watching.